first one is called Cloud Whispers. At night, clouds drift across the sky and whisper winds down to the trees. As branches wave, they float on by, above the moonlit canopies. And listening between the leaves, attentive ears of resting birds, assembling sounds, if one believes, into a language free of words. Awakened from a peaceful rest, a waning moon retreats from sight as sunlight peeks into the nest to bring the winged performer's light. The feathered crooners sing aloud, the new song brought from far away, translated whispers from a cloud to celebrate another day. Okay, this one's called The Stop Along the Way. I started off for college back in 1981. The future was uncertain, but my high school years were done. 3 hours drive from my hometown, and then I would arrive in hopes that I would graduate in 1985. Inside my car with all my things, I felt a bit confined, with thoughts about the road ahead and home I'd left behind. I traveled west from Hot Springs on the narrow winding road, past farms tucked in the valleys where their fields were freshly mowed. Near campgrounds in the forest, over rivers, creeks, and streams, by small-town schools with wooden bleachers for their football teams. I hadn't eaten anything for breakfast on that day, so I decided if I could, I'd stop along the way. In a place they call Y City, there's a diner on the right, where I stopped to use the restroom, have a drink, and get a bite. As I walked into the restaurant a little before noon, a voice said, "Hi, and have a seat. I'll be with you real soon." A crowd was there at lunchtime, and the food they all ate looked great. I quickly scanned the menu and decided on a plate. The waitress hurried over and then said, "Hi, I'm Darlene." She brought a glass of water and then wiped my table clean. She said that she was sorry I had been waiting for a while. Darlene wrote down my order and then gave the brightest smile. I told her I was traveling to Fayetteville that day. She told me she was glad I made this stop along the way. I watched the busy kitchen staff while sitting in my chair. I heard the burgers sizzling and could smell them in the air. Before I knew it, she was back and pleasant as could be. She told me that the plate was hot, then sat down next to me. Darlene began to tell me all about the day she had, what time she woke, her family's names, the ride from mom and dad. She asked me how the sandwich was and recommended pie. We talked about all kinds of things while her first break went by. It seemed like I had made a friend while stopping there to eat. I chose the slice of apple pie, and like her, it was sweet. She rang me at the register, and I turned to her to say, the next time that I drive back home, I'll stop along the way. I got back in my Mustang with 2 hours drive to fill, up through the Boston Mountains, then arrived there on the hill, a pledge of Delta Youth Salon. I'd unload, then relax, with brothers I had never met. We all were Razorbacks. It took a while adjusting to the campus and the classes, the boring labs and lengthy lectures, slower than molasses. But on the weekends, if I got the piles of homework done, I'd go to football games and party at the frat for fun. It really was exciting, far away from home alone, no longer feeling like a child, more like I was grown. But sometimes I'd get up and drive back home on Saturday, and when I did, I'd always make that stop along the way. When I'd pull in the parking lot, I'd hope Darlene was there. Then we could sit and talk a while with so much new to share. It seemed like she was working every shift that she could take, but every time when I stopped by, she always took her break. Darlene was glad to see me back, and I was happy too. I ordered food, and while I ate, she told me what was new. Her brother Jake had wrecked his truck and bruised his head and arm. Her dad had suffered heat stroke on a hot day on the farm. Jake and Dad would be all right. Her mom was doing well. She asked if I had any stories I would like to tell. But then her boss asked her to help him with the noon buffet. I said next time when I drop by, I'll stop along the way. As months went by, I must have stopped there 20 times or more, and every time that I would stop, we'd learn more than before. Darlene gave detailed updates about Jake, her dad and mother. I talked about my parents, my young sister and young brother. From the first time we had ever met, Darlene had been my friend. When I dropped out of school, it brought that friendship to an end. I never got to tell the reason I stopped coming by. I never got her number, and I always wonder why. Back at the Midway restaurant is the only place we met, and for a while I had a friend I never will forget. I wonder if Darlene might still be working there today. If I should ever pass by there, I'll stop along the way.